worship teams have the privilege of helping the church praise, sing, and worship God. We're leading the way, and it's a servant role. However, worship ministry is about using our gifts in excellence. We want to do our best. From the leadership side of things, we want to take what we've been given to work and improve upon it. So, what can be improved? Today, we're going to talk about that. And I'm here with Ava Andrews and Tim Price, and we're going to share some areas that can be improved in your ministry. So glad you're here today, Ava and Tim. So how's it going?
Going well.
Yeah. So we're up to
as far as I know.
So far? Well, that's good. So Tim informed me that this is our 18th episode. It doesn't seem like it.
No, we haven't really been keeping track that well. Maybe we should start, but it is our 18th episode.
Yeah. Well, I think I also don't mentally think about it because either we do a couple at a time, or I'm just not here for some of them. So yeah. So Ava, it's good to be on a podcast with you. Yeah. But before we get started, let's have some fun questions. All right. So we have two of them. And the first one is this. What would you rather do? You have wash dishes, mow the lawn, clean the bathroom, or vacuum the house. What would you rather do of those four things?
It's definitely not wash the dishes.
Yeah. Okay.
I do not like seeing breadcrumbs floating around in sinks of water.
That's hilarious.
That grosses me out. Pancakes, biscuits. I'd rather do all the other three all year than do the dishes once with a pancake floating around in a cup of water.
Wow. Suzanne won on that. If she does the dishes, you'll do the rest.
Well, I do mow the lawn, and a lot of times I do vacuum.
Yeah.
But I think she does the other two.
Awesome.
I'd rather wash the dishes.
Yeah.
Well, I hate cleaning the bathroom, and I don't know how to mow a lawn. I've never done that before. And I hope I don't have to. And vacuuming isn't bad as long as the vacuum isn't too big because I'm kind of small. So.
All right. Well, that's real.
What's yours, Clint?
Mine is definitely mow the lawn. There's something about the smell of gasoline and fresh cut grass that just really takes me to a better place in the world. Man, Ava, I'm so glad.
We're going to have to mute Ava when she laughs.
Ava is like a giggle box this morning.
Yeah.
So,
the worst is mow the grass?
No, that's my favorite.
Oh, okay.
I love mowing the grass. Oh, yeah. So, Ava, you can come over to our house and wash our dishes, and then I'll cut your grass. That's pretty funny.
I don't have grass. I live in an apartment, so.
So just come over and wash our dishes, though.
I mean, okay.
Tina would love it. Okay. Anyway, that's awesome. The second question is have you ever had a nickname? And what is it?
Well, at work, my nickname is Ave Dog.
Ave Dog?
Yep. I don't know how that started, but
nice.
It's kind of weird.
I like it.
Well, my full name is Timothy, so my nickname, I guess, would be Tim. I have had that a long time. But nobody ever really called me Timmy except for two family members.
Timmy?
That's usually the nickname of Timothy or
yeah.
Tim. But my grandpa used to call me Tim Bones, and I don't know how that got started.
Tim Bones.
And it didn't really stick. A couple people still say that now and then.
Yeah.
But the weirdest one is like Ava's. Was at Fire Up one year, this guy named Kevin said, I'm going to give you a nickname. And so he basically announced to the whole Fire Up crowd that he wanted everybody to start calling me T-Dog. Nice. Like a rapper name. And it didn't really stick.
It didn't stick.
And even as he was leaving, he was giving me a high five that weekend saying T-Dog. And it never took. But one day I was in Southern Illinois and I pulled into a Shell station, and as soon as I walked in, I hear T-Dog, and he was working there.
No way.
That's awesome.
So I have felt this sense of people calling me that, but only one guy. So if he's listening today, thank you.
Well, that's awesome.
You have a nickname, Clint?
I've had nicknames, and I'd probably say the weirdest one, it's not weird. Well, to me, it's weird, is I had a coach who would call me CB. That's my initials. Because, I played hockey growing up, and he would just call people by their last names. And for whatever reason, he couldn't say Benesh. I don't know. I don't know why or how, but he couldn't say it. So he goes, second practice, the second time I've ever really met this guy, he's like, I'm going to call you CB from here on out because I can't say your last name. And I was like, all right. But and then everybody on the team called me that. Even after he was gone as a coach, years later, I had people who I was still on a team with that would call me CB. And there's one guy still to this day, and I graduated in '03, so figure that out. And he'll like randomly call me and be like, "Hey CB, what's up?"
Huh.
So
that's definitely a nickname then.
yeah, it's definitely a nickname that has stuck for weird reasons. So
That's cool.
but anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to improvements in worship ministry. So first, what does it mean to improve something?
Well, I think basically improving is to make something better. And I learned that from, I mean, it's obvious, but I also hear it a lot from Andy Stanley and North Point Church. And so they always talk about their 6 values they have. And one of their values as a staff is to always try to make things better, whatever they're serving in. That's just like one of their general principles is whatever you're doing, wherever you're serving, try to make things better. So there's sometimes when something's really broken down and you're like totally, you have to fix it. Otherwise it's not going to happen. Like that's happened to us before. We've been in a spot where if we didn't ask somebody to do something, it wasn't going to happen at all. And then, those are tough times. Sometimes they produce a lot of fruit, but it's kind of like all hands on deck to fix the issue. And also in those times, it seems like it's even hard to improve because you're just trying to survive. So the best time really to improve something is on a consistent basis when things are pretty much working, like you're building on success, and then you're able to do something to make whatever you're doing better. So that's what it kind of means to me to improve.
Well, I think improvement is also like you have to take risks to improve, especially like in worship, like because the congregation can sometimes get a little confused and a little bit weary if you do something that they don't really like. And I don't know. Weary. I mean, I don't know what other word to use.
Well,
but
that's true. Yeah.
they come up and they're like, I don't know about this and that, and I don't know. We're just trying to do something different. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's good.
That's good.
All right, so today's podcast is about improving your worship ministry. And I believe wholeheartedly that any worship leader, well, actually any ministry leader, you can kind of blanket that, can look around the area that they serve in and probably see like hundreds, if not a thousand things that they could probably change, tweak, fix, upgrade, whatever. But what's really crazy about it is if you kind of look at it all, like instead of like a forest view, you look at each individual tree, it can become really overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, you can like get all tangled up just messing with that. And part of that is it really takes like a culture of always improving to get everybody comfortable with always improving. And some people really do live by, if it's not broke, don't mess with it. Like they really wait for things to be totally trashed before they try to take it up a notch.
Oh, man.
And maybe that's not with the worship ministry or church life. Maybe it's with cars or something like that. But that's still terrible. I mean, like it's better to take some time. And there are different levels of improvement. So you don't have to be overwhelmed with like trying to improve something. If you can you can always do something, even if it's small, like send a thank you note to somebody. If you haven't done that in a long time, that's an improvement on your connection with people. Or sometimes when we do rehearsals for special events, I'll always grab chocolate and stick it on each station or each music stand. And that is simple, partly because our office is loaded with a little tub of chocolate and you can just grab it and do that. And, but it's also just a little improvement. Everybody walks in and like, ooh, 7 p.m. it's chocolate. And they just have it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it might be, that's like no expense, but the other expense might be improving something that requires budget request or whatever. And that's like a whole different level. But yeah, you try to do too much and it's easy to get overwhelmed.
Yeah. So whenever you were talking about the car thing, like instantly my mind just like stopped listening. And it took me to a time when I was younger watching The Simpsons, which is like a horrible show or whatever. But it reminded me like Homer, he works at a nuclear power plant and he is like at a control station and there's a blinking light that says warning. And he put a sign over it that would cover it up. And then basically what happens is like the power plant like blows up or whatever. But when you talked about a car, like ignoring everything until it implodes, that's where my mind went. But
yeah,
so
that's true.
Yep. Crazy stories of watching TV. But Ava, what have you seen around here improve lately, or even since you've kind of been here for the last couple of years, helping lead worship?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I think the main thing that I've noticed is we have improved our sound system enough that like we don't have problems like every week and every Sunday. We don't like delay practice a whole bunch, and we're not like, are we gonna hear? Are we not gonna hear? Are we gonna, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've really whittled down our rehearsal time, which is kind of nice. We're not doing 30 minutes of someone can't hear because something's wrong with the patching or whatever. We've really, or I mean, not we. I haven't done anything, but
You stood up there
yeah.
and said, I can't hear.
Yeah.
It's half the battle.
I did
So you're talking mainly about like our in-ear monitor system.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's good.
Yeah, so before we get into this list of ideas and places where you can improve your worship ministry, let's take a few moments to hear from our sponsor.
Hey, this is Ava from Harvest Ministry, and we'd love to invite you to help support the ministry in this one simple way. Harvest is an Amazon Smile recipient, and with a click of a button, your purchase on Amazon can send a small percentage to Harvest. It's a win-win. We think it's a cool way to support Harvest Ministry, so thanks for your part. Visit harvestministryteams.com/Amazon to get the link. Again, that's harvestministryteams.com/Amazon.
And we're back. And here are some areas that might spark your thoughts about improving. Pick something from this list and work on it today or for a couple weeks, and then choose a couple more to begin working on.
Yeah, and one thought as you were saying that is it might be somewhat motivating to tell your people what you're planning to improve. And in fact, you might even take this list that we're going to go through part of in a minute and talk with some leaders, get their input. But I also want to caution not to just fire off an email after listening to a podcast and say, hey guys, we're going to improve this, and this, because it's a lot better to build a culture of actually doing it and letting people notice it as opposed to saying you're going to do something. And even if you do follow through at that point, now it's already an expectation. And if you don't follow through, it's even worse. So it's best to just get involved in these on your own, maybe with a couple key leaders, and get the ball rolling and let people begin to like fall into place with it. So that's just one little thought before we get the list going.
That's awesome. Well, I see that we have a list of 11 things here, and we're just going to talk about a few of them and just talk a little bit about them and see where it leads us. But I think instead of hitting all 11, I think each of us should like pick one or two, and we'll kind of go around a table and talk about these different areas. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Tim, why don't you go first, and then we'll go counterclockwise so I go last.
One area, and mainly because I'm probably thinking about it right now, is recruitment. So we're in July of 2020, in the middle of pandemic, mental strain and other stuff going on as well. But for sure, it's a mental thing for everybody. And we haven't even met in the church building with a whole group for months. And so we're going to have to do some pretty heavy recruiting over the next 2 or 3 months. One of our regular folks who have been serving, and get them up to speed and back in the groove of coming and serving on tech ministry and all the different areas. And then number two, just the opportunity at this point to start a new system of recruiting. So we've kind of been bare bones for 4 months, and now we're like almost a set reset, because nobody that hasn't been here is used to being a part of it anymore, hardly. I mean, it's like a whole new habit is formed. So there's always room for recruitment improvement. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
Recruitment improvement. But we and I would love just to, hear if anybody else has thoughts about this, but some of the ways that you would improve that, if I was giving myself advice, would be to document it so that people know how they get involved and what they're going to be doing when they get involved, and that they have an idea of how what they're committing to, like a timeline. And the church is notorious for just sticking somebody in a spot and then waiting until they either quit or they burn out or, something else goes wrong. It's like we just rarely are intentional enough to say, hey, it's been a year. Thanks for your ministry. Are you still up for this? Is this still fun? And, just continually checking in and having like those points. So that's one area of improvement that I've got to work on.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're talking about like an onboard process, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's pulling people in and and
That's good.
let them know what they're going to be doing.
That's good. Well, Ava, what is something that you see here that you want to talk about for a second?
I guess I'll talk about the first one on the list, the music.
All right, the music.
So, I mean, there's obviously a plethora of songs that you could add to your list. But, of course, you need to think about, like, what songs are going to go with the sermon and, like, what songs are going to go with the feel and, like, what kind of people you have in your congregation and what people you have in your team and all that kind of stuff, how much time you have, etc. And that's kind of a lot to think about on a Sunday. I know I have trouble with that, picking songs. I don't know. It's just hard. I don't know why it's hard. But I know, like, a lot of churches, I mean, I don't know if a lot of churches, I guess, but I'm sure a lot of churches have, like, standards that they do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good to reach out and find some new ones, but, like, not too crazy that don't make sense on a Sunday, like nice congregational songs. But also, you want to try new things. And if your congregation isn't comfortable with it, then that's okay. They can be. It's new. I don't know.
And they grow into it.
Yeah, they grow into it. So it's cool.
So how often do you guys think is a good pace to introduce new songs to the congregation? Like once a month, once every couple months, once every week? Like how often is it, when do you want to introduce new songs?
I think like maybe in the middle there, like once every 2 weeks. I don't know. Maybe not like regularly, but you don't want to do it like 2 new songs in 1 week because that's kind of a lot to handle.
Yeah.
Unless they're like on the radio a lot, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's also the process of like doing it for a week and then a week later doing it again, then
Yeah.
a couple weeks later doing it again.
Yeah.
And then people start growing in it.
And then a song.
Yeah, you could do it again and over and over.
Yeah.
But my brother always says that some worship songs are like quail and other worship songs are like manna and they get old really quick. And the quails stay and they're more meaty. And those are usually hymn type songs or anything that a congregation is singing that really, it becomes their song. They can do that for quite a while. But some other songs, and we don't want to name off songs, make people feel bad, but there are some songs that you sing for like a year and then all of a sudden it's over. Just tanks
definitely.
and it's gone and it's like manna, like it spoils.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty interesting to think about.
I think that's more, and I mean, I could totally be wrong with this. This is purely my opinion, but I think that's more now. Like it's more a modern thing than it used to be, of like songs. We just kind of run through them quicker now. I mean, I think that's kind of how like we have been ingrained in learning like top 40 hits. Like the top 40 hits change every single week. And that's kind of how we are with worship songs. I mean, like, I don't want to name songs or whatever, but like I can think in the last 2 years, there's been a big song and then that one kind of fades and there's a new big song and that one fades, new big song. And it's crazy because like for us as people who like lead worship, we see those songs a lot. And I think that's why we get burnt out of them. But a congregation only sees it like once every like 2 months or so, and they don't really get burned out on them.
They just barely learned it sometimes.
Yeah.
Unless it, like you said, it is on the radio. Like if songs are everywhere, then it's harder to have them. But like if a church group wrote a song and they sang that, it wouldn't be out there. Yeah. Unless your church happens to be the church that writes a song that's on the radio. But it would be a song that they wouldn't be familiar with, and that probably could go a lot longer. But and one other thing I was thinking about improving music is not just a new song, but new ways of doing songs. So every once in a while, we will pull out bells, and I don't know why we have bells back there, but we do, and we'll have somebody play bells on a song.
Now, just to clarify, when you say bells, do you mean like the ham bells and you have a whole table of them, or like
xylophone?
Okay,
with a microphone.
I just wanted to clarify so people knew, like we're not like down there with like drums and electric guitar and someone with ham bells. Clong,
that wouldn't
clong,
be too
clong.
bad. But those little bells, it's always weird. People like you can almost just see people sit up straighter when they hear bells playing, and it's like they're wondering. Wow,
it's that frequency cutting through.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. We could have done that and lifted up on Sunday, but
we could have.
We didn't have time.
That's okay.
Oh man. Ava, do you know bells? Can you play bells?
I mean, yeah.
Nice.
It's kind of the same as a piano, just more hammery.
More hammery? All right.
At least she had a word for it. I thought
That
she was
is.
like, it's more ding, 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 ding.
So I'm going to move this on, and I'm going to go for the low-hanging fruit with the system of planning. Now, if you've been with us for a little while, you know that one of our first podcasts that we did was all about advanced planning. And basically, I'm not going to rehash all that. Just going to kind of do in a nutshell is advanced planning would be things like, getting your sermon series from the pastor, seeing what music works, and then getting the music out to your worship team, if that's by using like Planning Center online or whatever system you use to get that music to them. Make sure it's in the right key, the chords are all in there, and even like uploading a video of the song so that way they know kind of how it goes, the flow, and even like if you upload a YouTube video of the version that you want the team to do, that's also a big help because I know there's been times at where we all serve, and even at churches where I was before now, where everyone would show up and they all listen to different versions, and then we all try to play those versions as one, and it just kind of is crazy.
Yeah, and that is an area to really, just to crack down on yourself to actually get the version that you want everybody to listen to.
Yeah.
And just that one little improvement alone.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with Planning Center, just to have the actual song in there that you're trying to play.
Yeah. But as we move on, Tim, what's your second one of this list of 11?
I would say, another one that is pretty easy to pull together if you want to improve something for this Sunday is the worship flow. And I don't have to go in again a long time on this, and I don't know if we've done a podcast on this, but we should. The ideas of inserting something or rehearsing your transitions is something that you can pull together this week. And sometimes people just rehearse the 4 or 5 songs and don't really talk about what's coming up next or what's coming up before, or even the transition. We've always bumped into this, the transition around communion Sundays, whenever you're trying to figure out when the band goes and when the band takes communion and when they're going to, just all the little, just the even getting on the stage transition, just that little bit can help in flow. And other ways to improve the flow of worship is just, for one, knowing what you're doing and being intentional with it, writing it in. That's a huge improvement. If you just write, the order out so everybody knows. And then just the idea of, begin to insert creative components, somebody else reading scripture or, 2 or 3 people reading scripture. We've done that before, various people, or, a video of some sort. There's all kinds of ways to help the worship service flow together. And even in song selection, that's a big part of it. Having 2 songs in the same key helps keep things moving as you go from one to the next. If you get too many songs in the same key, everybody gets really tired quickly. You got to change keys somewhere along the way. But a couple of them work pretty well. So that's just one example.
All right. Ava, number 2.
Okay. Well, I guess we could talk about rehearsals. So I was thinking about this week, because I'm leading the outside service on Sunday, but like the songs that we're doing out there are just like ones that we do all the time. So I was just like, we can just practice Sunday morning because like we all know the songs and it's just like 4 of us. We'll probably be fine. But like there are obviously weeks where we can't do that. I don't know. But sometimes like, I don't know. I work in the evenings, so I can't always be at rehearsal and it's kind of tough. So I guess you just have to decide like if you need to have rehearsal and if it's going to help you. And normally it always will help you. Obviously rehearsals are great. If you don't have rehearsals, then you're probably just going to fall apart. You won't die, but I was going to say die.
But you have, if you don't rehearse in midweek, you have to rehearse on Sunday.
Yeah, and then you have to get up earlier in the morning, and it's just, But anyway, rehearsals are great. But yeah, I don't know what you think about if you know the songs, like we do, like the songs we're doing are TUMC standards, so I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm always an advocate for like, even if I know the songs, I'm always an advocate for like the midweek rehearsal.
Yeah.
Because, and this is like a Clint thing, not like anybody else, but I just want to make sure that like we're all on the same page. And then if we're not on the same page, that extra time to kind of like work on things to be on the same page.
Right.
But if it's like, I'm trying to think of a song. like Lord, I lift your name on high, right? That's an oldie but a goodie kind of a song.
Mm-hmm.
We could probably just go down right now and hammer that out, and it'd be great. You know what I mean? But we don't really do those kind of songs, do we?
I don't know. It's been so long now. I may have to practice that one.
You're right.
we were gonna do it, and then I don't know why we didn't do it.
We stuck that into the song we wrote. It was like 19-minute song with every song of the era.
Oh, yeah.
And we called it Every Song.
Every song.
That was really neat.
Yeah, that's always fun to do.
But here's another thought is that sometimes, like the outdoor service that Ava's leading this week, that is really low key.
Mhm.
Like you just go out there, there's no projection, there's no inner monitors, there's no
Mhm.
tracks, there's nothing. You
Right.
just pull out the microphone and start singing.
Mhm.
Right.
You can really, I mean, and I never want to get to a point in life where if I didn't go through something, I can't take my guitar and sing, you know, for my family or at a nursing home or a group of people. I mean, it's just, you don't want to get to a point where you're stuck. On the other hand, there's so many moving parts to Sunday morning worship. You have all these people that really want to do their best. And so somebody's created a video, somebody's doing a reading, somebody's doing this, somebody's doing that, somebody's putting the words on the screen, somebody's doing the live streaming. And at some point, it's kind of like you're all holding each other accountable to bring your best and actually have it ready. In some ways, it's a testament to the power of the Holy Spirit that all these different components come together on Sunday morning. That's just unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
So most of the time they come together.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's an important one. And for my second one, for the last one we're going to talk about today, I am going to pick, oh man, there's so many different good ones. I'm going to pick the worship space. It's kind of interesting because, you know, I don't really think about that often. I don't think about the worship space that often, but there's been some great improvements that we have done in this. So I remember when I first started here, we were all using like music stands and paper music and stuff like that. And it was, if you looked at the stage area, it was really cluttered. And then over time, we've gotten rid of the music stands and the paper music, and we use all iPads now. And now we've even gotten to a point where we're able to use like a confidence monitor projected on the back screen. So it really even like cleans up the front row by having less stuff there. So, you know, just, and I don't know if this is like me discovering things about myself, but like just having clutter is really just kind of like in my view when I'm trying to like worship, even if I'm on the stage, it's kind of distracting. So that's definitely one area is like of the worship space. Also, no stage ferns. I don't know why. Stage ferns. You know what I'm talking about. There's awesome videos of stage ferns and doing things. So, but yeah, I think that's great for worship space. Lighting is huge. I mean, you can get a lot of things like lighting, how you project stuff, what's on the back, how your lyrics are projected on there. I mean, even like, you know, chairs versus pews, you know, all this kind of other different stuff. And that's really like based on the context of your situation.
Yeah, and also some of those, I mean, that's a good list, but some of those things a worship leader on their own can't even answer.
Yeah.
Because it requires a team of people and a whole change of philosophy. And I mean, there's a million different, you get into great big worship space stuff. Sometimes you got to work with what you're given.
Yeah.
But clutter, that could be fixed by anybody.
Yeah.
So,
well, we've talked through most of this list, but don't be overwhelmed with this, right? You know, you have job security. If you think about, okay, I got all this stuff to hammer out, you know, I'm going to keep improving things. If you want to read all 11 of these, you can go to the worshipleadertoolbox.com and find it on our blog. But one question I actually want to ask as we were kind of going through these kind of popped in my mind. Personally, what's more important? Like when you're improving things, do you mentally think about improving, like fine-tuning what you excel at? Or do you kind of mentally think about improving what needs the most improvement, like the bigger bang? What are your thoughts on that? Does that make sense?
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you could go both ways,
Yeah.
like every other question in the world. But it seems like if you're going to, the question, what can your church be the best in the world at?
Yeah.
And so maybe your worship ministry is totally set on production and excellence in all these areas. And not that every worship ministry shouldn't try to be excellent, but some contexts, production stuff is overkill and ridiculous.
Yeah.
And other places, you're really reaching people. So if you can really improve those things, a couple other things might not be quite so up to par, but it's like the momentum of the big things carries you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the other side was, do you work on the stuff that is the hardest or whatever, like not in your skill set? And somebody else may have a thought here, but one thing I've noticed over the years is that sometimes the thing that you're gifted with gets left behind because you have to work so hard to do all the things you're not gifted with. Then all of a sudden, at the very last minute, you know that you can throw together a good worship set, or you can sing a good song, or you can write out a good whatever. And as a result, you wind up sacrificing what you're gifted at, trying to keep track of all these things that are taking up all your time. And in some ways, to answer your question, it's better to really go strong what you're gifted in and let some of that carry, or surround yourself with a team and then begin to get this other stuff done. Here's one mental shift that's helped me is that I want to improve things so that I can leave it to somebody else. And not that I'm planning on going anywhere anytime soon, unless the Lord changes everything. But when I am trying to fix things up or get systems in better places or improve whatever we're working on, I always kind of have this motivation that I'm not going to be here forever, and I wouldn't want to leave a mess like for the next worship leader who's going to come and be a part of this. So that's one of my little mental goals on a regular basis.
That's a good place to be. Is a good handoff. Well, Ava, any final thoughts?
No, I'm just thankful to be part of a ministry that keeps growing and improving, and works together, and yeah.
All right, Tim.
I would say just take one and add a bite-sized chunk to your life this week, and see where you get. And don't try to do them all at once.
You don't try to do them all at once, that's for sure.
You listen to a podcast, it's a lot better to do one thing than not do 11.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, like I said, if you want to visit that list, check out worshipleaderstoolbox.com, and you'll see the blog post on that with the full list to work on. It's important kingdom work and worthy of our calling as we serve Jesus and the church. But pace yourself and move forward with a mission to do the very best with what God has given you and who God has given you to do your work with. We strive for excellence so we can remove any barriers or hindrances to people being able to worship freely and connect with God on Sunday mornings or whenever we meet to worship. Thank you for listening to the Worship Leader Toolbox podcast. If you would like to support this podcast, there is a support link in the show notes below. Also, we would love to have you click subscribe and give us a 5-star rating so more people can discover us. Don't forget to join the Worship Leader Toolbox Facebook page for connection and community. If you have any questions, please contact us or leave us a message at worshipleadertoolbox.com/podcast.